How have you experienced Valentine's Day? I mean, back in the days when I was growing up, or maybe that's linked to school, or maybe it's linked to prior IT age, we used to send cards to people that we really liked, and we hoped that we would get a card from someone who anonymously liked us as well. And well, somehow that changed. It got commercialized, as people said and still say. So all of a sudden, we do special things with our loved ones. We buy them stuff like little cuddly bears or maybe some flowers. We go do things. But what if you are on your own? What if you're single? Or what if you are about to be divorced? And that was something that was on my mind thinking about Valentine's Day. So the first thing I actually did was I created the sketch. That's this one. And then I decided to make a different sketch. Well, actually, it's the same one, but then a little more the way it should be. And I was like, so do you see what the heart says? It says, thank you for being my friend. And actually, I sent it to some other people. Let me see if I can show you. So it ended up looking like this. Happy Valentine's Day. So you can see that I actually colored it. The blue hair, which is sort of my hair, and here is the slightly better version. If, of course, the light didn't reflect that much. But what I wanted to get across is the same thing as I basically said during Christmas. But what if people are on their own? What if they are missing their loved ones? Then Valentine's Day is actually pretty hard to go through, especially when you see all those people who are doing all these fun things together. So when I was looking at the movies a while ago, I noticed that there was this movie from Bridget Jones, and they had made it into a ladies' night with a special goodies bag. And I was like, okay, I can understand that this is something that friends would do. And it doesn't matter whether you have a partner or not, or whether you are single, because you are doing it with your friends. It's ladies' night after all. And I was like, okay, that makes sense because that way no one gets excluded. And I think that's one of those things which is very important. Now, I have to admit that yesterday when I was doing grocery shopping, I was standing in line at the cash register and someone was standing behind me, and I was looking at the guy in front of me. He was covered in tattoos, very muscular, looked good. But what surprised me was he had a couple of rolls of packaging paper with hearts on there, wrapping paper, that's what it's called. And I was like, oh, two rolls of hearts. So I said to the one behind me, you see that? That's a guy I like. And then I said, and she said out loud, yeah, he's doing really good. And I said, I don't think he hears us or knows that it's linked to him. Oh, yes, he does, she said. And I was like, mm-mm. So I said to him, we're talking about you because you have two rolls of paper with hearts on there. I mean, we love seeing that. And then he said, well, I have to make up something to my girl. Okay, but it did seem pretty nice. And I remember back in the days that I used to buy these things too. And then, of course, that day would be reserved for us. Just, getting a bite to eat, doing something special together. Of course, when time goes on, the question is, do you still do so? But getting back to the question, but what if you are single? How does that work? And that also brought me to another question, which is, how can you still have fun on a day like that? And linked to it, how does it work when it comes to expressing yourself? And then I realized this is actually one of the things that is at the basis of expressing yourself. So if I go back to the original version, or the version that they have at schools, well, it's about expressing yourself anonymously. And what is easier when it comes to expressing yourself than doing it without anyone knowing that it's you? On the other hand, it's still about expressing yourself, and that can be like, ooh, do I dare to? Do I want to? Yes, I want to. This is the one opportunity in the year that I can actually do so. What if they find out that it's from me? The goal is, of course, do it anonymously. So it's actually a very good way to express yourself, to make something that might not directly be related to you, but at the same time is giving you the opportunity to tell someone, I like you. And even if they won't know that it's from you, it's still something that you did for yourself. I mean, you don't have to anticipate reaction from the other one, because the other one is not supposed to know that it's from you. But the mere fact that you might have fun and giggles, just creating it, it's actually a very good way, like I said, to have fun and to actually start expressing yourself. And I don't know what it is like for you, but like I said, growing up, we were very creative. I mean, you can make drawings, you can use stickers, you can do whatever you like in order to write a message on there. And the message can be very creative too, and very cryptic, as in that people don't know whether, well, who it is who's writing that message. So I can see a lot of aspects which are kind of fun. Of course, when we go to the version where you are doing something with your partner, the question, of course, is, what if you do something but the other one doesn't? Now, if you're staying together for a longer period of time, then of course after the first time you will know what is being expected of you or what the other has done. So it's good to actually talk to one another about, hey, what is it that you expect me to do? What is it that you want from me? What are we going to do? That's, I believe, the better version. And of course, when you're madly in love, you always want to give one another something. So hence why we were very enthusiastic about the wrapping paper. But yes, a long time before it's actually Valentine's Day, people can already buy gifts for other people, and then there are movies on TV. So what are you going to do? That's the question. What are you going to do with your partner? Are you actually going to exchange gifts? Are you going out for dinner? Are you having a nice dinner at home? What if it's actually a month of anniversaries? I mean, take for instance Valentine's Day, maybe 2 weeks later an anniversary, and then 1 week later a birthday. I mean, yes, it does happen. So yeah, I believe it's a good day, serving as a reminder, like, hey, we are together, let's do something together. And having said so, I said it's also about expressing yourself. So What's your desire? And I don't necessarily only talk about Valentine's Day, but what if you have the desire to actually do things more often together? So does it specifically has to be that one time a year on Valentine's Day? So the good thing about Valentine's Day is it's just you and your partner. Of course, there's a difference when it comes to families, but it's not like Christmas when you go and have dinner with either your own family, so the entire family, or your family-in-law, where you go to. No, this is meant for the two of you. And I do believe that it's so important that you actually take the time to do something together, especially when you have children. It's so important to also have days without your children. And I don't mean dump them, but I do mean maybe there is someone else, maybe a relative or a friend, who can take care of them and watch them for a few hours so you can spend some quality time with your other better half. It's one of those things that I believe takes its toll on relationships when people no longer do things together. And of course, I do understand that at some point, when you've been doing things together, that at some point it's like, are we going to do something together again? I don't have the time. Maybe there's no money. So the question, of course, is what are you going to do? But, well, relationship consists of work. And whether it's posting something anonymously, doing the work, or you knowing who your better half is, your other half, and you actually do something together and you arrange something together. Yeah, that's important. It's important to express yourself. But yes, like I said, how about keeping that at least like once a month, that you do something together, other than, like I said, on Christmas or birthday parties or whatever. Just some you and me time, just the two of us. That makes a lot of difference if you can do it, and just and spend some time, some quality time together. And maybe it's having a bite to eat, maybe it's going to the movies. And let's face it, especially when you have children, it's going to be quite hard to come up with a different conversation than the one which involves the children. What's going on at school, all those kind of things. So this is the time that you actually can talk about, hey, what's going on in the world of the other one. So question, of course, is, do you want to talk about work? But what if there's something really important going on? So is it like an obligation, or can you actually go do something which is meaningful? And of course, that's hard. But, when it comes to expressing yourself, it's the best way to just try and see what works out. And, well, of course, you can talk to one another and discuss what are we going to talk about and what's off limits. And the question, of course, is, when you see one another every day, then how does that work, getting to know the other one better? So we also could say that there's like one day a week you do something together. That would make things less awkward, because when you do things once a week, you can actually spend time talking about the things which are very important to you and the things that have happened to you. So I don't know if you've known this, but when I started doing these Friday nights live, I said, well, I'm also looking back on the week. And actually today is the first time that I didn't reflect back on the week, because the whole thing when it comes to Valentine's Day it was keeping me so occupied. And I'm kind of curious what other people have been doing up till now. If they actually have done something with a friend or for themselves. I know other ones who decided to have fun. So that's a good thing to do. And well, when I talk to you about the movies, I can tell you the whole movie theater was sold out for, well, for several. Well, they had like every hour, every other hour, there was a movie going on. So they have different rooms where you can go to. And well, they were all sold out. So, which brings me back to that other question. But what if you are in the stages of getting to learn or getting to know someone? What do you do? Because then it's a whole different ball game. I've been talking about people who have children, who have been together for a long time. But what if it's all kind of new? Well, you bet that you need to learn to express yourself. And of course, that time of exploring when you don't have to talk about the really hard things, that's actually kind of like a fun time. And well, talking about movies, the good thing about movies is you're sitting next to one another for a couple of hours and you don't have to say anything at all. So the question, of course, is how are you planning things? But yes, it's also about communication on a non-verbal level. And that's why I said, do you take the time? Do you think about it ahead of time? Maybe already a few weeks or months earlier? Are you already like, this is what I'm going to do? And again, it's a good way to get to know one another, especially, no, not just when it's new, but also when you are longer together, because we change. We as people change. Our interests change due to circumstances, what we experience at work or in our personal life, physically, mentally, what we see happening around us, has such a huge impact on who we are and who we remain to be. I mean, if I just look at myself, I've changed so much over the years, becoming my authentic self and realizing who I actually am. And well, that has not always been easy on my partner, I can tell you that much. So, getting back again to what if you are single? What about it doesn't really make a difference whether you're single or not, because you use this day to express to your friends, hey, I'm grateful for you being my friend. Thank you for being my friend. Because I do believe that Valentine's Day nowadays is an excellent way of saying to those who are on their own, hey, I see you, I appreciate you, and maybe you want to drop by, maybe you just sent a card. And again, people can say, yeah, well, this is commercial nowadays. But on the other hand, let's use that option to actually reach out to people, to actually say, hey, I know you're there. I know you're on your own, but we are here. So you're not on your own altogether. And well, let people know that you appreciate them. It doesn't always have to be a loved one like your better half. It can also be like maybe it's your mom or your dad who's on their own. Maybe it's a good friend who's on her own. Maybe you want to let your kid know because your kid has moved out, and you're like, hey, I still want to say, I'm here. Maybe I don't see you every day, but I still appreciate you. So, again, my question is, what have you done? And if we had talked about this sooner, what would you have done? What would you have liked to have done? And when it comes to expressing yourself, maybe this is a good moment to actually think about what is it that you actually need. And have you expressed this to other people? Have you actually expressed this to yourself? Like, this is what's important for me. And, well, this is what I would like to do. This is how I would like to spend the day. And again, there are lots of people who see this as any other day. But maybe it's a good thing to actually say, let's make this day kind of special. And you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to make it a good day for yourself, to have fun with yourself. So maybe it's about watching a good movie on television. Maybe it's about pampering yourself. So you can pamper yourself at home. Of course, you can also spend a lot of money on it. But what is that one thing that you can do which actually makes you smile, which actually makes you relax? Because I believe we have forgotten what it's like to actually pamper ourselves, to be okay with ourselves, to have that bond with ourselves. Hey, I appreciate you, both shoulders. And taking a break from it all and just saying, I'm going to spend a good night with myself. And I know that people now might be saying, oh, well, that sounds pathetic. But this is not about being pathetic. This is about the opposite. It's about being strong, about saying to yourself, okay, I might be on my own, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to spend quality time. It doesn't mean that I can't have good time just because I'm on my own. I'm sorry for what you're seeing. My contact lens is sort of annoying me a little bit. So it's a little bit of the result of me waiting for a number of hours before I decided to go live. I was in between. Am I going to go live early, like I said last week? Or am I going to wait a little bit longer and have a break in between? And actually, I did have a break in between. And then something happened and it just got the better of me. So instead of actually taking a break and resting a little bit more, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. So that's what I did. So looking back on the week, now we are talking about looking back on the week, I have done a lot of things which were related to expressing yourself. So a number of you know that I created this handout with on the back side what to do. And I've been promoting this handout. I still love this one too. And one of the things that I said, especially since it was Valentine's Day, it was, well, how about gifting yourself the gift of expressing yourself, taking care of yourself? Or how about gifting the gift of expressing yourself to someone else? And in addition to it, I said, well, if you do so in this week of Valentine, so you can still do it too, then I'll make sure that you just don't only get a one-on-one call when you actually go for the course, for the training. But I also will make sure that you have one together if you gift one to someone else. So basically, there are 3 calls with me, one to each person and one together. Because if you gift something to someone else, there is some sort of bond, there is something you think the other needs or deserves. And why not talk about this? So, what I've been doing this week is working on getting the handouts out there, also making the shift towards the training itself. So the training has been out there for a while now, but there's also the part of when it comes to promoting it. And I guess that this month, actually the previous month, if you've been looking at my Instagram page, I've been talking a lot about done by one, which is my way of expressing myself and saying, I got things done by one. I also added at some point done after midnight, which was usually after 1 at midnight. And so well before 1 in the afternoon, but usually I posted the things a little bit later. So way after 1 in the afternoon. For me, it was important that the major things were done prior to 1. And well, posting about it, that was not the most important thing to do. So I was like, I want people to know about it. I shared a lot about what it is that I've been doing. And I have to say that it was challenging for me this week. It was challenging because, well, I've been using the system. It's called Kajabi. And at first glance, it's like, oh my God, it's massive. Then when you start working with the system, it's like, oh, I can go left, I can go right, but how does it work together? And well, I'm slowly getting better at it. I'm slowly seeing how things are adding up. But when you don't and it's new, oh my God. So by Brendan challenging us with the Accelerator Challenge, it basically forced me and others to show what we were doing. And a lot of people said to me, well, this is not in my field of expertise. So I can post something about it on Instagram, but then my followers are going to look at it. What are you posting? So my response was, well, you know what I'm doing? I am posting something which I think is related to my followers and which I still can combine with done by one. So for me, it was like a behind the scenes sort of thing. And I really enjoyed doing it. I still do it actually. And one of the things that I also did, which was also part of the challenge, was focusing on the things that are important to you. And it was like, well, what's important to me is to make sure that people see the handout, and then next from the handout actually are going to explore training. But merely getting all the marketing out there, getting things done, especially when I was doing this, what I call an opt-in in a funnel. At first I was like, oh, so I need to start with the handout, and then in the end I can promote the course. And then I figured out that even though I was writing about the handout, and you can get some cool stuff if you sign up, just so you know, there's like little bits of things that can be added to it. So I added a quiz to it. So there's also the fun framework, which is related to the express yourself things. And there's also about talking with clarity. And then when I ended up like what I thought was promoting the course, then I saw that I was ending up with the handout again. And I was like, how is this possible? And then there were things like I was looking at the chain of events and it showed like 3 videos. And I was like, what do you want me to do with that video? And then later on, when I went through the emails, then I saw that the emails were already actually linked to the videos. You just needed to upload the video. Now, here's the thing when it comes to marketing and it comes to emails, it's not just limited to posting a video on a page. The goal is that there's more on there. So it ended up with some lines. It ended up with a handout. And so there were other things. So in Kajabi, I was like, okay, so I want the downloads in there. And then I want people to be able to access it. And then I realized, oh, but that's not what they want. And so I've seen a lot of pages, I've seen a lot of emails. And well, apparently, when you use the prefabricated pages, like the videos in there, then all of a sudden you don't have to worry about downloads and all those other things, because when you're working with what I call a funnel, then all those pages can suddenly have like a download in there. There can be a button added to it. It's just that when it comes to the order, and especially changing things at the beginning or the end, not so much. And that meant that I literally had to duplicate all those things. But I was like, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to push through. It just meant that it felt like I was running behind. But on the other hand, and then we get back to the fun aspect, because I was posting something and there's music to it, you could actually see me using I Feel Good from James Brown, because it's like victory, doing things one step at a time and then continuing on doing them. So this is me also being a role model for others, saying, okay, let's continue on. It might not be easy, but still let's do it. And talking about that role model and being a role model, then I'm going to revert back to where I started, which is about Valentine's Day. And yes, I'm going to show you this once again, because I still believe this is so important. But this is one of those things which is related to expressing yourself, because there's a message in there. And then, of course, this has to do with the drawing, but it also has to do with, hey, what's the message that I want to get out there? It's about voicing myself also by posting it and letting people know, hey, I appreciate you, do something. Now, I didn't do anything with music or whatever it was. I did think about what do I want people to know, and it's only one day. With Christmas, it's a little bit easier, because you have like the whole month of December leading up to Christmas. And then, of course, there's the week between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So if you're a little late, you can still do things. But this is like a 1 day event. And that's why I'm actually kind of curious what people are doing this weekend, because it's the weekend following Valentine's Day. So are we making this into a long Valentine's weekend? What's the norm nowadays? I have no clue what the norm is, but I can imagine that people would actually say, you know what? Valentine's Day was on a Friday, so let's do something on Saturday and possibly on Sunday too. Maybe they have taken an entire Valentine's weekend, which I think is a good thing to do. with your other half, but also maybe with friends, just to get away from things and have a good time. So all in all combined, I believe that the whole Valentine's thing is about what kind of message do you want to receive, and what kind of message are you going to get out there. And that's something that I want you to think about too, because of course we can talk all we want about a better half, the other half, but like I said, not everyone has a better half. And apart from whether it might actually be hard to be reminded of someone no longer being around, or a relationship having failed, or maybe never having had a relationship, it's also about, but what? But what would you like to say to someone else? Not just the other half, but, like I said, your family, your friends. And maybe this is a very good day to think about all those people who are on their own and who could actually use a hug, a virtual hug, or maybe a real hug. So if you haven't thought about other people, then maybe you can use this weekend to actually change that and to reach out to the other people and tell them, I love you, tell them, I appreciate you, or like I said, thank you for being my friend. And it doesn't have to be related to Valentine's Day, but it does help as a reminder. It does most certainly help to serve as a reminder. So, how about that? Are you going to use it as a reminder? Are you going to reach out to other people? Now, having said so, today is going to be a short one. I can go on and on about Valentine's Day, but I think that what I wanted to get across has come across, which is be kind to yourself, think about yourself, do something fun, especially when you see other people around you doing stuff with their partners. But also think about the ones who you didn't reach out to, who do mean the world to you. The people who you know that could use, that virtual hug, a little boost. People who are going through a difficult time at this moment, because just because it's Valentine's Day, that doesn't mean that there's no such thing as hardship or physical and mental challenges going on. So take that time to give grace to yourself, to celebrate yourself, like, hey, I'm here. But also take the time to reach out to someone else and say, hey, I appreciate you. I'm here. I know you're on your own, but let's do things together. Like I said, if you want to gift yourself the gift of expressing yourself and having fun, please do so. And if you want to give the gift of expressing yourself to someone else, please do so too. And to remember, during this Valentine's week, it's not just a one-on-one coaching call with me for the one who has the training, but also if you give the training to someone else, then you get a coaching call together as well. Now, I'm going to finish up with, when it comes to expressing yourself and having fun, what is it that you would like to share with others? Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon again.